Well, I started the Playhouse in 1994 in the fall, and I think we're up to somewhere around our 19th year, which is just hard to believe because it seems to have gone so fast. I started it because I had an urge to see people on the stage and to teach children. I was really interested in children's theater. And I'd done some other work in the community, and so we built the stage and many plays later. We also do plays for adults, comedies. We do comedies at the Playhouse. I actually started it because I wanted to know, and still want to know, what's funny. I'm working on learning what's funny.
Mary has been a great director, probably the first real director I ever had, and she got me into it really well. She was a good influence, obviously very talented in her acting and directing skills too, so that and inspired to do the things that she does. Like, you could tell she likes doing it, so that made me happier doing it. The first play I was in was called A Terrible Tale of a Dreadful Dragon, and I played the bad guy, and it was a really good experience for me because I was only 9 and I'd never really done any real theater before, but that was what really opened me up to how great it is to get to know your castmates, to get to act on stage. It's just a great thing.
I've been in, let's see, 3 productions here, with roles on stage. In another capacity as a costumer. I've costumed 2 shows for the past half year, starting in August and up until the end of this year. That would be 2012. I've been running a series of fundraisers, specifically a series of poetry slams held as fundraisers, where Mary gets the proceeds. So as far as that goes, I've been quite pleased, and I get the feeling that Mary's been pleased as well, because they're, as far as events go, a little bit different, certainly a little bit different from something that a community theater does on a regular basis.
In truth, I've never considered the Playhouse exactly an example of community theater, and part of that is because the Playhouse has always been kind of my actor's studio. It's a place where I've been teaching young people how to act for years, and it's a place where when I get to work with adults, I feel like we work on our acting as we prepare our productions, and where I've had a chance to work on my acting. And it's not a place that I've actually shared with a whole lot of people. There's a small group of us who keep working.
I think the Playhouse is a community theater because, yes, she's only shared it with a relatively small amount of people. Like, different groups come and go, and it's just the same group many times. But I think that within that small group, it kind of forms a community and benefits the bigger community, and in that way, it's a community theater.
Traditional community theater, you have people who help make decisions, people who help with the fundraising.
I would say that both perspectives are partly correct. I think that on the production side of things, I would agree that the Playhouse doesn't share with most other community theaters a few notable characteristics. Mary rarely does an open call for casting. Mary rarely has announced and published audition times.
I got to work with a lot of the same kids throughout my years participating, so it got to be kind of like we all knew each other, and it was just fun to play different roles within the same group every time, and to know each other and like each other and build off each other's characters. It was nice.
On the audience end of things and on the community end of things, I think this is very much a community theater, maybe even an archetypal community theater, in that it has a large and devoted following, an audience of people who are very consistently supportive, consistently enthusiastic, and who come back again and again with great enthusiasm for the slightly beyond the beaten track productions that Mary so consistently puts together.
We're community in that, like, we're there for people to enjoy and observe, but
on the production end of things, Mary does do, and a small group of people who work with Mary pretty consistently do end up doing the vast proportion of the work on the production end of things. In that respect, it is very much more like a small company theater.
Not just your chocolate highness. From now on, I want you to address me as your rich, creamy, super duper delightful chocolate highness.
Yes, your rich, creamy, super duper delightful chocolate highness.
Billy bought all the items that Queen Midas had requested. One by one, the Queen touched the eggs and the marbles and the paper clips and the feather. They all turned into chocolate. The Queen wolfed them down. Soon she'd eaten so much she was growing tired. Millie accompanied the Queen upstairs to help her prepare her bed. Millie, look! I just touched my bedpost. It turned into dark chocolate, just like the dark wood.
I think a lot of kids don't, when they think of what could I do as a kid, and when their parents think of what could they do to get friends, they think of sports or, ballet classes sometimes, art classes, but it's not that often that they think of theater, because usually theater is older people, often it's, teens and adults, but kids get exposed to a whole different side of art and extracurricular activities that they could carry with them at least a lot of their life. For me, as an example, I started when I was 9 at the Playhouse, and I still do theater because I found that I loved it, and I didn't know that before.
I haven't touched on at all the children's productions or the ongoing children's acting classes, children's acting workshops, and Mary's amazing ability to draw young people, very, very young people.
so many brilliant little fairies and bugs and gnomes and dwarves and dragons, so many dragons, lots of dragons.
It's almost always an uphill struggle to keep any community theater running, insofar as there's a certain amount of overhead that one can't get rid of. Obviously, things have to take place in a space. It's not a certainty. So that's a factor in any community theater, is making ends meet. The rent that she pays is, according to comparable commercial rates, for this part of town, it changes frequently, in tiny amounts, with disturbing frequency actually, but the general trend is up. She has certainly what sometimes one calls angels or other benefactors, and that's certainly a strategy, but should probably take it as telling, as a telling indication that she has resorted for so long to an ongoing bake sale. Admittedly, her products are really rather fantastic.
I worked at the bake sales. I did customer service, and it was just really admirable how she made all this merchandise, all these pies and cakes and delicious looking cookies, delicious tasting cookies that she brought in every Friday to have people buy to raise money for the Playhouse. You know, it wasn't like her own job raising money for herself. You know, it was just for the Playhouse and continued efforts of that. And that was amazing because she's just one woman making all this food.
But that said, it's not exactly a cash cow. It's not exactly a high profit margin endeavor. It's once again very much a roll up your sleeves and do something, anything to bring in some money kind of endeavor. It's not a given, but it's a very common practice when one's running a small business and when one's sustaining a small business to pump cash raised from a second mortgage or a multiple mortgage.
If the Playhouse was to stop running, I think the community would suffer because then we lose that integral part of like the art that's not just one art gallery, art that's a bunch of people working together to form something artistic as a whole. And the Playhouse is one of the only things that Belfast has that does that. So that's what I think.
This is a two-part question. How do you think this theater benefits the community, and how do you think the community would suffer if this theater was not here?
Let's see. Perhaps understandably, I don't spend a lot of time imagining the latter scenario. Try to contemplate that as infrequently as possible.
Actually, what really happens is that the kids come in and I try to encourage, and it takes about a half an hour at the longest, and they've got the whole idea of the production and the lights and the sound and what they're doing and so creative acting is actually just creating the access to the space that is a theater.
Having a place that's willing to support performances like that, that is that open to putting on cultural programming for the community in general, and produced by the community in general. Having a place to perform is a very valuable, very valid thing. And one of the things that makes the Playhouse so great is that, in that respect, it's a very friendly and generous kind of a venue.
And in 10 seconds we will be on our way to the new planet. We will all die for science.
It might be a complete headache. It might be a nightmarish uphill struggle all the time. But when a person judges it to be worthwhile, it's just what you do. It's just what you do.
I really start out a lot by learning something, I hope, about the person and where their imagination is and what they like to act and what their particular skill or talent or where their humor is. And then once we've developed a relationship where I can actually like talk to them while they're doing their acting, and we can interrelate and I can make suggestions, then it's a lot of fun, it's very creative, and eventually I get to the point where I can work them into like the harder work of putting on a play. So that's kind of the method. And here comes one of them now.